Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from Tāmaki Makaurau, South Okilani. He is a very special individual who places his heart also in his territory as well, in this amazing place called 275 out in South Okilani, also known as Mangare or Mangele. And so the man is an incredible man who happens to be an entrepreneur, businessman, who has an amazing plethora of projects and work that he's done throughout the community, and so very well known, well renowned in Mangere. And so more than just that, he's also has an amazing story, is an amazing father and an amazing husband. Please put your hands together for the man himself, Savele Refiti, also known as Fitz. Usu maro lava, usu maro soifua. Fitz, obviously Fitz, for me, I often say it, you're the mayor of Mangele. I know you think, I know you downplay it because you're a very humble man, but I know the work that you do. I've seen the work that you do, and I've experienced the stuff that you've done. Also 275, I've got a few haircuts at your barber, entrepreneur, family man, but I need to start this because Mangere, 275. What is it about Mangere, your city, that you have so much passion around it, that you invest so much of your energy in this amazing part in Aotearoa or Okilani? Tell us why Mangere? Why is this a massive part of your fabric, so to speak?
First of all, so thanks for having me on. But yeah, Mangere is a different beast. You know, it's a diverse community. Just you can find everything in Mangere. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Because it is, Fitz. Because I think the first time I caught up with you, Fitz, and I remember you invited me to come over and share a few kind of a spiel with a lot of the men, and there were a lot of the barbers were there, and you were doing something in terms of, was it barberhood, eh? The barberhood. I remember that a few years ago, and I saw the men, and it just aligns with what we do in terms of mandate, the kaupapa, and also the vision of mandate, encouraging our men. And you're doing this with all these men, all these different barbers across the country. And obviously, Matt Brown, props to Matt Brown, was there, and I see the work that you do also, and the passion that you put into all of these projects, but also you wear your heart on your sleeve. Where does that come from, Fitz? Because it seems like you're one of those individuals who kind of pioneer stuff, and you start stuff, and then people follow. Where does that strength come from? Where does that catalyst or that flame come from?
I would say growing up in Mangere and seeing what, having other people talk about what Mangere is when Mangere isn't. You know, just like all communities, we have people who we got the 0.1%, you know, but that's what gets shared out on the media. So what I saw in the media to what I saw in my community wasn't actually what was portrayed. So for me, now that I'm older, now that I'm finding a lot more confidence in myself, I always thought, man, people need to know who we are as people, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, all good. Also, because obviously you raised in Mangere, but for those who don't know, who's Fitz? What does Fitz stand for? Can you take us back? Can you take us back to where it all started for you? Obviously, you're entrepreneur, businessman, 274, the barber, all these, and obviously you had a lot of other projects, and you're well entrenched in the community. But take us back also. Where did it all come? Where did it all start for you as a young man? But also the backstory as well.
So I was adopted through the system. My mum and my dad, adopted me through the system. And then I've got two older sisters. We all, so when they adopted me, I moved to Mangere, and I've been in Mangere all my life. So I was born, they brought me up here.
Begin to take time because I love to hear your story. And Fitz, because I know you're a doer, you're more of a doer, you do a lot of stuff. But in terms of, because you said you're adopted, what do you mean? Were you adopted out of the family? Or
no. So I was adopted through the system. So my parents couldn't have a baby after my older sister, and so my oldest sister needed a sister. which adopted my other sister, and then they needed a brother, so they adopted me.
Oh,
So I was born in Hastings, 1 day old, flew up to Mangere and been here ever since.
wow. So you, and so, and so how does that make you feel? And so obviously you adopted, raised up, obviously left Hawke's Bay or Napier, and so all of that. So you would have seen a lot of things, obviously in Mangere, growing up in Mangere. So what was like your childhood, Fitz?
My childhood was fun, you know. My father passed away, so I was raised by a widow. My mother, I had 2 older sisters. So the love I had feminine energy. I grew up with feminine energy, and my mum always made do with what she had. We always ate, you know. She showed us how to love. So I guess my love for the community started from my mum, and how she showed love to us, and then watching her make do with every dollar because she was a beneficiary, and then making her dollar stretch, making sure we ate. She didn't really show me how to work finances, but I would listen to her on the phone, making phone calls to people and how to stretch that dollar, making it work. So I was always watching her, and then not having everything that you would see other kids have, and then that would force me to go out there and do my own stuff to try and get things. Yeah.
Wow. And so would you say that that's where the compassion comes from? A lot of the love around, obviously, your area. And you said your sisters, so you're kind of around, you're outnumbered, so to speak. You had your sisters and your mom. And I relate to that because I got 4 sisters. I'm the only boy in my family, and so I was kind of raised up with a lot of the female influence and the love of a mother and so forth. And so also, in terms of your siblings and so forth, in terms of your childhood, you said it was an amazing childhood, a fun childhood. And so in Mangere, because people think, oh, Mangere, South Auckland, or Otara, because I'm an Otara boy. And so people think, oh, that's the hood. That's the hood. And so growing up in the hood, so to speak, what did it do for you in terms of the things that you saw, the things that you experienced, but also your family in the household and so forth, growing up?
My life growing up, it was all village. Like I used to, for example, I always give this example about how we grew up. So you know how people used to ask neighbours for salt. So as a kid, I would look over my fence, and my neighbour would do the same. So shout out to Joe. If it's raining, you know, and they look over and no one's home and the washing is out, we would go and take the washing in for them and put it to the side. So for me, I see that for the community that I grew up in, that's the love that we have. But over time and the influence that outside our community has given us, we've lost it, sort of thing. So I'm just trying to, I just want to see Mangere how it is and how it's always been, village, community.
That's cool. So because it is, I think obviously Mangere and Otara are kind of very similar in terms of a lot of the people in the family, like you said, the village and family upbringing, everyone kind of close. And you're right, I grew up in that same era, Fitz, in terms of people, oh, you need some salt or sugar, come next door and we'll give you, and you can borrow this and that. And so in terms of nowadays, you obviously young kids, the younger generation, Fitz, what do you see that is lacking now, and not only in Mangere, but more so of our young men, so to speak, more so? What are you kind of gauging out there in the hood now?
I wouldn't say too much of what our community is lacking, but I'm quite confident in our youth of today. From what I've seen, because, you know, knowledge is everywhere, or information is everywhere. A lot of the information that I know our youth are seeing is good information. Like you've got teenagers talking about healing, trauma and triggers. That was never a conversation growing up. So for me, when I look at our community and our youth, like I definitely see positive growth coming out of it.
Yeah, Maro level. So you kind of touched on of trauma. Obviously, we kind of grew up, have our own trauma. Fitz kind of growing up, our own kind of trauma. And I remember the first time when you invited me to the Barberhood, there was that breathworks. Like I didn't know anything of that. Like, what the heck is this? And I remember that lady. I props to that woman that you invited to run the workshop on that day. I had no idea what breathworks was all about. I found out later on in terms of healing and trauma, all that kind of stuff. We had Coach, your good mate, Coach Lino, come here and talk props to the toko And so all these things in terms of our men, and like I said before, kind of everything that you do and we do, because it really aligns Fitz. And so with the healing and so forth and trauma, has there been, because there has to be some place in for yourself also, why the trauma stuff, why the healing stuff? Was there some sort of trauma in your life growing up?
So for me, this whole journey about healing and stuff, it was a pivotal moment when I did a wānanga with Matt Brown. We went down, we thought, this is when we first started our barber shop, and my niece introduced us to it, and we thought we were going down to learn how to be a barber shop. But when we went down and we heard Matt's story and about what he did in the barber shop, that really aligned with what we wanted to do. So my my very first post about our barbershop, I opened it up because that's when suicide was at a high, 685, I think, that year. So we just opened our doors and we just said, hey, look, just come in. There's no need for a haircut. Just come and talk to us. And if you need somewhere to chill, just come through and chill. And then we went and did that wānanga, and then it sort of aligned with what we want to do. And shout out to Mux. Mux went down and we were like, oh, yeah, no, this is the lane we want to go down in, about helping people and, bringing it back to our community, solely Mangere, because a lot of the time when we try and reach out too far, there's so many people that gets lost in the cracks. So if we just stick to our community, we'll just work our way out, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's cool. So I appreciate that. It is, I think it's so true what you're saying in terms of people want to reach, so kind of cast a net so wide and the scope is wide, but you kind of miss the people that kind of fall through the cracks. And so going back to the barber, because you mentioned the barber, you went obviously Matt Brown and the barber. So how did it start? Because the entrepreneurship, obviously you and your wife, your lovely wife, started 275, the barber shop. Why the barber? Why this sense of?
So I believe in everything just works out the way it's supposed to be. So growing up, I always had an entrepreneur mindset, and I always wanted to start a business. And then parenthood happened early, was put on pause, and then we just carried on. But then an opportunity came to purchase a barbershop off our friend Lance, Ilo Barber Shop. And I spoke to my wife about it, and I was like, hey, I was selling glasses at the time with Allies. I'm not too sure if you heard of Allies. It's a Polynesian-inspired or Māori-inspired glasses brand. We were doing that at the time. And then the barbershop came available. And then I was like, oh, maybe having a small barbershop would be a step into business to learn how to do business properly. So we purchased the barbershop and we sold the glasses from India. And then, my friend Allies, Martin, he said, bro, you need to start a brand. But from helping him build his brand, to me, the only reason why I wanted to do it was to help him be successful. But selling glasses wasn't my thing. So through that journey, I realized, okay, if I'm going to start a brand, it needs to be something dear to me. And Mangere was dear to me at the time, so, well still is. So I started that, and I just learned it through that barbershop. So I learned business through the barbershop, and just utilized it to help my community at the same time.
How did it unfold on Fitz? Because obviously you would have talked to your wife in terms of, let's start the barbershop. What was her response like? Hey, let's jump into this opportunity. What was the initial reaction or initial response like?
I think at that time she was in Australia, and then I just caught the shot. So I got a friend named Frank. So I've always wanted to, so husband and wife thing, it always takes a back and forth conversation and agreement. And I always wanted to start a business, but we both weren't on the same page. And then I asked my mate Frank, I said, bro, how does your dad do it? And he goes, oh, he just does it. So when my wife went to Australia, that's what I did. I just did it. And then, she was all right. I mean, she's supportive. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are without her support. But that's what I just did. I just took the leap. And that's why when I do give my tricks and tips to people, like, it really takes a leap. Just take the courage to take the first step, and then you just repeat that process over and over again.
Man, I'll tell you also, because people often think when they see a business, they think, oh man, or business owner or entrepreneurship, they go, oh man, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I see and they probably walk past your barber shop, oh, 275, and think, oh man. And often, because I often wonder, and I agree with what you're saying, people think, oh, well, let's just do it. Let's just jump into it. Let's just jump by faith. People see the end product, also. And so you starting your business, because, and it is, 275 is an awesome brand. The barbershop you do, the work that you do, but tell us, because there's sometimes, I can guarantee there'll be some times like, man, what the heck, what have I done? What have I put my family through? There's some hardship, there's just some, I can't handle this or can't cope with this. Tell us, and from the horse's mouth, the times where you're like, man, gosh, did I make a mistake or do I just keep going?
I think for some people, like especially for our Christian people with faith, like how real is your faith? You know, so I'm heavy in trusting His plan. It doesn't matter what happens, even right now. Like if everything was to go, it is what it is. But that's the faith that I have. You know, people say God, people say universe, but my faith is so strong that I'm happy with whatever comes. So I've also practiced optimism, or just trying to look at things through a positive lens. It doesn't matter what happens to you, there's always a positive. So I think once we start training our mind in that way, there is no bad. So example, when we first started our business at the barber shop, lockdown hit 2019. So it hit, but at the time we were fortunate that drill rap just started, and I ordered a whole heap of masks. So when lockdown happened, our mask supply arrived, and that's what kept us going through lockdown, selling our masks and paying our staff. We just gave them masks to sell and keep us afloat. So we've been so close to, you know, to things not working out. But when you really trust in the process and just trust that God will make way for things to happen the way it's supposed to be, you'll be fine. Well, that's how I see it.
How do you do that, Fitz? Because obviously, because you said that 275 was established 2019, and then you have the lockdowns, and then you have to kind of like, okay, and you're right, it must be your higher power. Some people say higher power, God, and then you had these masks and drill was popping at the time. You're selling all this, and so what's going through your mind? Like, okay, man, God is doing this is by faith. How do we kind of make ends meet? And so it has to be a pretty special individual to say, you know, let's just do this, let's just carry on with this. And so, and you probably heard this before. Obviously, you said positive mindset, manifestation, all that kind of stuff. How do you keep yourself in check when you feel like these are the days like, oh, I don't know, man, it's just bloody having one of those days. How do you keep positive even in the midst of adversity?
Like I said, man, you just gotta look for the positive. You know, what's that saying? How you look for the trees within the skier. So when the skier is going down the slope, he's saying, don't hit the trees. So all he's going to see is the trees. But when you say hit the gap, all he's going to see is the gap to go through. So it's always about the way you think. And I think I didn't always think like this, you know, but practicing to look at things in a positive light, and in the faith thing, it's about surrendering. It's really just surrendering and just let things be the way it is. Because at the end of the day, we won't be here. You know, 100 years from now, we'll be gone. You know, so when you look at things at that grand scale, like, you know, just take life as it comes.
Yeah, man, also. It's like you're just grateful. You're just grateful for everything that comes your way.
Yep, grateful.
Man, also, I guess when I'm sitting here with you, Fitz, and I'm thinking to myself, your mindset is obviously rock solid. But I didn't realize it in terms of you saying, hey, whatever it is. And I didn't realize in terms of you're a man of faith. Is that correct, Fitz? You're a man of strong faith. Say. Yeah. And so for you running this business, because a lot of the stuff I saw, the breathworks, and Coach Leader, all the other stuff. Like, man, I was like, man, this for me, I've never experienced that. Fitz. I thought, man, this is out the gate, man. This is like, who's starting all this? And you're already up to speed with the play, Uso. And so, what are you seeing in terms of the business now, but also around you, men around you? How do you influence these men now, even outside of business?
I think the best way that anyone can influence anyone is just do you. So a lot of the stuff that I'm doing in the community, it's because I've done the work myself. So a lot of the breath work, you know, the men's wānangas that I've done, it's worked and I've learnt a lot. So for me, it's like, hey, how do I connect the dots of what I learnt back to our community? Because it's a new topic, you know, it's new in our hood. Like we didn't hear about this stuff growing up. So all I'm trying to do is just connect the dots. Yeah. So I got invited to a church. I haven't really told anyone this, only a few people. I got invited to a church and God spoke to me at that church and he said that my purpose is to connect people, and everyone in this world will find their purpose when they connect with others.
Surely. What's the church?
I only went a couple of times and God spoke to me both those times. I forgot what it was called. It's in Epsom.
Man, and so what happened? Did someone come up to you and kind of spoke like a word over you? Or
No, I sat there. I just sat there. I sat there, and during the sermon, words just came to me, and then I was just like, "Hey, okay." This is at the very beginning of my 275 journey, while I was trying to still figure out what it is that I'm doing. Because throughout my whole life, I'm not too sure if there's like other men out there, but you're always questioning, what's our purpose? What's our purpose? You know, and that's what was told to me at that time. Was my purpose is to connect, and for other people to find their purpose, they will find it by connecting with others.
Solid, man. And this kind of speaks truth, true, because like I don't know because I don't even know how we connect. How do we connect? Fitz? How do we connect? I'm just still trying to figure out how do you and I connect. I know we obviously the brotherhood, but how do we initially connect? Also, I can't remember if it's.
I think it was a friend of ours that said what you do, and and then I called you to come in, and that's what it is. Like I don't have to know everything, but if I could bring someone in that knows like the influence that we all have on each other, you know, it's powerful.
Yeah, that's awesome also. And it is, and I do appreciate it also because I think, I know we connected at Alexander Cafe, was it the cafe? We got up there, I knew straight away. And I think, there's some people, you know, hey, Fitz, there's some people you kind of like, oh, yeah, connect, yeah, we connect. And there's like, yeah, we connect. And then you get some people like, oh, yeah, we're just kind of an acquaintance, so to speak. But I felt like there was a connection. That man, Fitz, and I think what it is, Fitz, and whatever God said to you in terms of, hey, you're going to be a person who connects the dots. And what I gauged from on that day was, and I brought my son there, he was there with me. And what I gauged on that day, Fitz, was that you're a man of humility, a man of integrity, but also you're that kind of like the pillar who kind of connects people. Because I see people follow you, Fitz. And I don't know, you might think different, but I see people follow you and you connect these dots. And it is, I feel like it's true because, the people that you've connected myself to, all these other, and it's kind of like the ripple effect also. But how do you, in terms of, because I want to know, how do you balance all of that connection? Because you're in the community, you're running all these workshops, you're doing the Barber Shop. How do you balance all of that with your family and your business and all these other projects that you are doing, even right now as we speak, Fitz? Because I can guarantee sometimes the family life can be like, oh, jeez. Or is it just, you just know how to balance all of that?
One thing I mentioned at 275 Day was every man needs a secret weapon. And that secret weapon is my wife. So she really carries a lot of what I do. But then there's also something that I haven't mentioned before, but I'm on dialysis. So I've been on dialysis for 10 years. And when I'm sitting there dialyzing, that's the balance that I get. So that's why I seem so busy when I'm not dialyzing, because I just try and make the most of the time that I have. and then the time that I'm sitting there dialyzing, that's my time to just sit down, chill, reflect, and that's the balance. So it's sort of like a gift and a curse, really, you know, a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely, man. Obviously, props to your wife. Your wife, your lovely wife, she's here as well. But also, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that you're on dialysis and all that kind of. Which tells me the man that you are. That you could. Some people who are in that kind of predicament, they think, "Oh man, I can't really do much. Life is not really going to be pan out the way I want it to pan out." But you, man, not even one conversation that you even mentioned any of that kind of stuff, which tells me the man that you are. That you just keep going. You're a real go-getter, and the balance. You're right. The secret weapon is our wives. I got an amazing wife as well, and so she keeps me in check as well. And so, is that how you balance even the kids, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we're a team. Our kids are a lot older now. Danica and Jordan, shout out to my kids. And so I've been on dialysis for 10 years, so this is just a part of life for them. So they know how to help out where they can. And yeah, it's all about working together and bringing that family. Yeah,
the family.
Many hands make light work, you know.
And so obviously you're balancing your family, then you're balancing the business. Obviously your employees, Fitz. But also for you said, and I like it what you said, when you're in dialysis, that's your kind of like your time, your peace. So while you're on dialysis also, what's going through your mind? What are you thinking of?
Man, it's just my time to go down rabbit holes.
So tell me, what are some of those rabbit holes also?
Oh,
if you can share it openly.
So one rabbit hole at the moment. It's not a rabbit hole. It's kind of like truth about how the things in the Bible is metaphors about our body. So they talk about Jacob's ladder, the 33 vertebrae in your body, Christ consciousness. So it's about reaching. So the second coming of Christ, they have us looking outwards, where in reality, the second coming is our Christ consciousness. So that's what I'm looking at the moment. It does get a bit deep, but these are the conversations we have in our barber shop.
Jeez.
And having a safe space to just bring. So I'll bring something to the table and talk about it, and then it's like everyone's bringing their bit to the table and just having a
Conversation.
yeah, and that's all it is. And I think that's where the power of connecting comes in place, and how we find our purpose, just through the conversations and being able to just speak openly, not judging others. You know?
Yeah, man, that's interesting also. I love it. Because I'm one of those individuals like yourself who like to go down those rabbit holes. Obviously, when it's comes to do with spirituality and God and so forth. You mentioned what do you mean in terms of the second coming also? Because I think that's quite interesting also.
So if you think about it, the second coming's been the second coming for how long? Since the Bible was written.
For centuries.
Yeah, but there are people who have reached this Christ consciousness during their lifetime. You know, so I just think that the power that we hold within ourselves is the real power. But someone out there is making us look outwards, so we don't look inwards to who we are. And that's why we have the world the way it is, because we're not looking inwards, we're looking outwards.
Jeez. Yeah. Is it, so you would attest that to why you're so strong mentally, Fitz? Obviously, because, obviously you say you're a man of faith, but, in terms of, okay, it's the inside, it's the inner being one with yourself, but also being okay with it. And you're right. I tend to agree in terms of people are looking more outward instead of inside. It's kind of like they smoke screens there, and you don't see it until they are surprised, and then you kind of realize, oh, I got duped. So to tell us also, because that's some deep stuff also, and I think people are like, oh, what the heck are they going? What are we talking about this? And so help us, help me to understand, because your mind, it seems like your mind is strong. Your mental fortitude is quite strong, Fitz.
Yeah, just some of the things that so for me, I've been dialyzing for 10 years, and I dialyze 6 hours at a time, 3 times a week. So you imagine how much time I have to sit in the rabbit hole, and then there's people out there that ordinary people working, they don't have time to just sit around, and if they sit around, they don't want to go down that hole, so.
So what have you? Interesting. I want to know what have you found out about yourself when you're in that rabbit hole? What have you found out about? Obviously, God, whatever it is. But what is it that you find about? Like, oh man, this you find like, oh, this works for me. This is quite interesting, or about who Fitz is, or the inner being of Fitz.
My journey for finding out who I am, it's continuing. So what I say today, if you interview me now in 10 years, it'll probably be a whole different story, you know? So life is just life. You just here and then you go. But what is the reason why we're here? That's what we gotta find out. Like life isn't about going to work 9 to 5, paying a mortgage, you know, and then coming home and sitting around. Like there is something deeper than that, like way deeper, you know? Man,
I wasn't even envisioning how this conversation would go down this route, but I like it. I really do, Fitz, and I'm glad that we can have the conversation. Often, if I have these kind of conversations and we delve down the rabbit hole, man, it's quickly shut. Fitz, I don't know if you feel the same way when you try to have these conversations. People like, oh, shut.
I mean, in our barber shop, we're talking about rabbit holes all the time, and it's open. It's an open conversation. Like. Someone might come with something that's on their mind because, you know, we all want to be seen. We all want to be seen. We all want to speak what's on our mind. And I guess that's the power of the barbershop. You can just come as you are and there's no judgment. You speak about what you want and then you never know. The person who's sitting on the chair might go, hey, I've looked into that stuff. Or they might go, hey, I've looked into this stuff and this is where it got me. Like it's not that. You know, but that's the power of connecting. Like they call it collective consciousness. You know, when we all collectively share what's on our minds. And
absolutely, man. So I don't know to interview a philosopher as well. But no, it is interesting. Fitz, I think for me, I think I'm learning a lot more about you, Fitz. I didn't envision that, Fitz. I didn't even know that. Obviously, dialysis. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were kind of like in terms of a man of heavy faith, but also kind of seeking and talking about things that are probably outside the box. Yeah, I didn't realize that, Fitz. And I think it's true what you said. You are, in terms of the barbershop, you're saying that these men are able to have these conversations, connect the dots, and you obviously connecting those dots also. And so for you and the barbershop also, how do you kind of keep it going in terms of having these telenovelas by making men feel safe, kind of like quite therapeutic in the store?
First of all, shout out to the barbershop team. There'll be no barbershop if I didn't have a barbershop team as well. I think the space of a barbershop has already been established. You know, the work of how barbershops are supposed to be safe. Some people call it Switzerland. You know, where when you come through with your gang colours, it gets put outside. So it's like that safe space. So I think the history and the work's already been done. We just need to add to it and put our own spin on it, sort of thing.
Man, models. And so with the Barbershop 275 of the business, what's been the greatest learnings thus far for you and what you learned in terms of business and entrepreneurship?
Patience and persistence. Like it can be done. A lot of people start things and then they think like, have you seen that meme about the guy digging for the diamond and then he turns around, but then the second guy comes and it was only about a meter away?
No.
So it's just that. It's just making sure that you just stay the course. You know, if everyone's been given a vision, that vision is can be accomplished. Because not everyone gets given a vision, right? But if you've been given a vision, that's the higher up. That's God saying, hey, this is what you're capable of. Go towards it.
Man. And so, because you talk about vision, you are a man of vision, you're quite visionary also. And obviously last week you had the 275 there, yeah. And so tell us about that, because that was quite massive. I saw some of the snippets online. I didn't realize you had Guy Fawkes, you had fireworks, all that kind of stuff. It was massive also, and I saw a lot of stores and all that kind of stuff. How did this come about? And is it fair to say that you were one of the pioneers around this?
I would say for the way we celebrate our day, I would say we're the pioneers. But the idea started from a story, Spike from 312 from Switter. So I watched his story and it said Happy 312 Day. It was just a story, Happy 312 Day, and 312 Day celebrated on the 3rd of the 12th. That was 2019. And then I was like, man, how can we do that for us? And then I was like, 275, 27th of May. So I was just like, oh, sweet, that's what we're going to do. So I spoke to Mux and I go, bro, what do you think about this idea? So Mux is my my soundboard for everything. Shout out to Mux for what we do now in 275. And he's like, bro, go for it. And that's what we done. We started off in the Barber Shop, and it was about just giving back to our community. So it was the studio that we had at the time, we just hired it out for $27.50 an hour. So the theme was around 275. Our haircut and beard was $27.50. Our merch was $27.50. But then it was also an opportunity to link up with other small businesses to give back to the community. And in order to win a prize from that, you had to obviously purchase some merch, and then everyone goes in the draw. And then, yeah, that's how it started in the barbershop. And then the second year, we teamed up with Prestige from Rep FM, and then we did that in the art center. And then it was like just something you could just feel something about the pride that we all have in our communities, and to have a day, you know, like Auckland anniversary, but this was 275 day. Like, we need to keep elevating, and having a day that we could call our own. Mangere Day was the elevation that I saw our community needed to bring us back together.
Man, wow, what a vision also. And the highlights, obviously you had it last week. What were some of the highlights you kind of saw and you kind of experienced with the people there?
The highlights this year for 275 Day was having the schools involved. So we teamed up with the Mangare Principals Association, and we had kids performing on stage. So it was just giving them a platform. Like, you know, we need to normalize these things. You know, we had a big stage for them, and we had these 8-year-olds coming out singing on stage. And that, so they say that it's, especially us as parents, that our ceiling should be our kids' floor. So what we do in our community, we should be putting the ceiling there for our kids to have a floor. So just building this platform of 275, bringing people together, should be normalized in our community, about us coming together, being proud, knowing who's who.
Man. Oh, it's amazing because you obviously Mangere 275, but also your cultural roots as well. Also, and I don't know if you've got any rabbit holes around the cultural aspect and so forth. And I don't know as well until later on that your partner Wayne as well. So your culture, your identity, and so what does it mean for you? Obviously, Mangere is a massive part of who you are, the fabric of who you are as a man. But what does your culture mean to you, and what does it kind of do for you as a man or as an individual?
My culture, I'm New Zealand born, you know, but my culture keeps me grounded. I mean, I did a breathwork session the other day. The reason why it took so long to come on to Mandate was because, you know, we have our own inner things that we're dealing with, our self-worth. And I did breathwork the other day, and when I was breathing, I looked around and I could see my ancestors sitting around me. And as a New Zealand born and someone who's being adopted, it was hard to try and find your identity. But because of that breath work, I knew, I'm Samoan, man. Like, you know, I'm Samoan. And the work that I do, I've got support in the spiritual realm, you know, so anything that we do here in the physical should be easy, you know. So culturally, I'm quite I just love my culture, you know. But I'm still figuring out life, you know. I'm still figuring it out. And I guess for most of us, in order to find out who we are, we need to go back. We need to go back to our roots, you know. Like, one thing I learned from Savati boys was, if we're saying we're going to Samoa or going to Niue for a holiday, we got to change the way we speak. We got to say, hey, we're going back home. We're going back home. And that, to me, like, was an eye opener. Like, man, like, even though I'm born in New Zealand, I need to call Samoa home. I need to call Niue home. You know, not just, we're going there for holiday. You know, so it's important. So that's what I said. I could say one thing today, and then next year I could say something else. But it's just learning.
Yeah, nah. I like that also, because some people they kind of tend to, when they're successful, or when they, whatever success means to them, they kind of like, oh, I've arrived, I've done it all. But it seems like I love that you just evolve. Like you said, oh, I might change in 10 years' time. I might see something different. And so going back to culture also, when was the last time you've been back to Samoa or Niue?
I've never been to Niue, but I sent my kids over, I think 2 years ago for our family reunion. It's because Niue doesn't have a dialysis machine. So if I was to go, and I think their flights is like every Tuesday or Saturday, so the space in between is too long. That's why I haven't been to Niue. And Samoa, last time I went there was 2019, just pretty much during lockdown for my auntie's funeral.
Wow. How was it? How was it? Did you go with the family? You
Just went with my daughter.
Oh yeah. So how was that for you? Were you just going back, like you said, going back home?
No, it was good going back home. When I went the first time, it was more of an eye opener. You know, like you know how we grew up here, and then, you know, shout out to all my Samoans, but then people are going, oh man, look, like, you know, you got the car that's raised at the back, and then it's got eagles on the front, and then
and the tennis ball.
Yeah, you got the tennis ball, and then over here, like because it's not like the New Zealand culture, it's classed as fob, you know. But when you go to Samoa, and then you see all the cars the same, you see all the cars, all the taxis are named, like it was just a real eye-opener for me to go, man, like I actually lost myself thinking like that. How I go, like if I'm a Samoan calling a Samoan a fob, like, bro, that's not good, bro, you know? But in order for us to find who we are, we need to go back home. And then that's what happened. I went back home and I was like, man, I love it. Like, I love it. I love seeing it. And I love the fact that our people came from the islands and maintained who they were. They didn't switch up. Like, they stuck with the eagles. They stuck with the bright houses, and, you know, they stayed real. So in my journey, I was the fake one, you know. These guys kept it real, you know. So it was that awareness of going, man, who am I? Trying to figure it out.
That's a good point also, because I grew up in the era. Obviously, you and I probably grew up in the same area. The era in terms of the eagle, and then the mag wheels, and then the stickers, and I had a cousin, well, my first cousin, and he I don't know, his car, he brought a car and it was yellow. It was a nice yellow car, and then all of a sudden the next day or the next few days ended up being like a highlighted pink or something like that. I was like, what the heck? But he loved it, and I saw it, and it was so sad. You're right, Fitz, you hit it on the head or on the nail. Even as Samoans, it's sad that we call other Samoans fobs, eh? And I always find that kind of strange, and I always kind of find like, why do we say that to each other? And also one of the things that kind of pisses me off as well, so. And I don't know about you, is that when when people say that they fob out or they say something, and then who are the ones who are laughing? Who are the actual ones who are laughing? It's not even the Balangis who are laughing at us. Who was it? It's our people laughing at our own people, and then we can be so detrimental to our own people. What are your thoughts on that in terms of because you mentioned calling other Samoans fobs when we're Samoans? What are your thoughts on those kind of, when we kind of, I don't know if it's inverted or just the way we react or respond?
I guess like as we've done, as I've done some of this healing journey, it comes down to projection. You know, we all know we're always projecting our insecurities on others. So we might not know it, but there's something deep down inside that we're insecure about that makes us feel better when we go, oh, you know, tall poppy syndrome stuff, talking down on others. And that's probably why I'm a lot at peace now, because I've done some work. I'm still working on myself, but I also know that everyone's figuring out life as well, you know. And if someone talks bad about someone, I mean, they're figuring it out. They'll come to a point in their life where they'll receive what they need to receive.
Yeah, no, I often think it is a lot of it's insecurity, and I'm guilty. I'll be the first one to admit I've been guilty as well. Like, oh, I'm not a fob. Wait a minute, I'm a fob because I'm Samoan. And so maybe a lot of it's insecurity and so forth. But in terms of who you are as a man also, and you are in terms of his Fitz, but Samoan 275. Also, what does the future hold? What's the ultimate goal with 275 in the Barber? Or are there other ventures or adventures that you are thinking of doing?
I do have my own personal ventures of what I want to try and achieve. But with 275, I would like, for me, I would like 275 to be the change of narrative. Like for us to come together, like that's all the stuff that we do. But for something to come on the news and say, incident in Mangere, blah, 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 and then for people to say, hey, that's not like Mangere, that's when you know the change has really been made. You know, at the moment, the conversation's still the same. Like, oh, this happened here, and then it's like, oh, South Auckland again. But once people start, like, everything's in the language and what we say. So once you start hearing people say, oh, that's not like SA, you know, it's been a while since something like that's happened, then you know the positive change has really taken effect. Yeah. And that's what I like to see with 275 or with Mangere in general.
Man.
Not including a multi-billion-dollar business. Like, that's all byproduct, but it comes when the community is, you know, if our most vulnerable is looked after, then we're all good, you know. Like seeing homeless on our streets, like every day we see the same homeless people. Like, why? You know, how can we one weekend go in a hotel, have a buffet breakfast, and then go downstairs and then there's someone begging for, you know, we're all to blame. You know, we can't do everything, but we can do, I don't know, something.
Yeah,
you know?
No, that's cool.
I think it's just the way I view life, really. You know.
But I like it because it's very positive, Fitz. And you've probably heard it before. People tend to think, victimhood, because we're from the hood, we're from South Auckland, we can't do this and that. And there's a lot of backlash or negativity from outside, or outside noise, so you can't do this and that. What are your thoughts on that in terms of people say, oh, no, that's just the way it is. This is as good as it gets for me as an islander or Māori in South Auckland. Mm. How do you kind of smash that narrative out of people, or when they have these kind of thoughts?
Like I mentioned it before, it's just doing the work yourself. You know, like, yeah, I can't speak for the whole hood, but I can just speak on what I do, and it starts from me doing the work on myself, and then just works its way out.
That's cool, Fitz. What was some word of advice for our men? And obviously, you're right in the thick of it, and mandate. And so, what kind of words could you say to encourage or inspire our men? Like, hey, who are still trying to find themselves, or still trying to push through those hard times. Maybe looking at the camera or something, or maybe say, hey, these are what you would say to encourage them.
First, you got to do the work on yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you deserve better. You know, whatever you're going through, just know that it does get better, and we deserve the world. Like, we shouldn't be able to watch TV and just see the good stuff on TV. You know, we can achieve all that ourselves, the material stuff, but the internal work. Like, once we are grateful and just, you know, my brothers, just start with gratitude. You know.
It's cool, nice and simple. Start with gratitude, doing the work. I like what you said, and you're one of those individuals who does the work also. We live in a day and age now, just social media, we've got the wealth of knowledge in the palm of our hands with our phones or laptops or devices. Also, what do you say to those individuals who are like, oh man, I don't want to do the work. I just want to just fast, instant gratification. What's some advice for our young men who want to be entrepreneurs, want to get into business, but like, I don't want to do the work. I just there's got to be something. Just give it to me now, or entitled.
I think a lot of the time people don't want to do the work because it's uncomfortable, or they're afraid of what the outcome might be, or the process. But one of the things that I do know is that on the other side of the uncomfort is growth. You know, for me here, how long did it take for me to come on to mandate? You know, but then just stepping into that uncomfort, we don't know what's on the other side of uncomfort, but guarantee you it's growth. You know, you don't know what it is, but it's definitely growth.
Yeah, there's good advice also, because it is, you get some not just young men, but just some young adults or even older men. He's like, man, like what you said, uncomfortable, pushing through being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
One thing that I learnt from one of Matt Brown's wānangas is having the courage to be vulnerable. You know, once we have the courage to be vulnerable, we will honestly find growth in that, because we're always worried about what other people think, you know. But once we step into that vulnerability,
yeah,
you know, who knows what doors open through that vulnerability.
That's cool. Yeah, mad respect to Matt Brown. What do you think, Fitz? Do you think there's a fine line of being too vulnerable? What do you think?
Yeah, but from where we are, being vulnerable is because there's that deep meaning of vulnerability. But in order for us to get to there, the first step of vulnerability is standing up to go dance. You know, like if you're getting, like we had a 275 day and there was that round the world thing, and you know, when the Cook Islanders do the round the world, a lot of people go and hide. But if you're vulnerable, if you make yourself vulnerable, you'll stand up and go dance. You know, so I think though there's levels to vulnerability, and I think we're at the very early stages of vulnerability, and then when we start there, we'll be able to open up more and be more vulnerable. But just, not worrying about what other people think is probably the first step to vulnerability.
That's cool. I like that also, because I'm sticking with vulnerability also. What's been one of the hardest times in your life, or one of the times where you're like, man, this is just, you know, just raw depressing or whatever it is, and maybe if up to you, you don't have to share, but has there been a time when in your life where it's like, oh man, it's just hard.
I think there was one time when, because I had a kidney transplant 2017, and then I lost it 2019. And when I was losing my kidney again at that time, that's when it was like really hard. Like I at that time I did have a suicidal thought, you know, but I knew that having that thought, like I shook it off, like, because I knew that having that thought wasn't the right way to think. So I just went for a walk. But I just remember that time that's when I was at my most vulnerable, and I didn't tell anyone. That's why, like, when I see our men going through things, like, yeah, it's pretty hard. Like, we always talk about, hey, when you're going through things, reach out. But when you're going through things, the last thing you want to do is reach out. So I think the message should be that us who are all good need to reach out, you know, and check in all the time. But yeah, that's probably one of my most vulnerable moments that I didn't really, say too much at the time.
And so, when you had the kidney, did you had kidney failure or failure?
Yep. So I had kidney failure. I was diagnosed in 2004 and was told in 2014 that I'll be on dialysis. And sure enough, 2014 I was on dialysis, and then I had a kidney transplant in 2017, and then failed in 2019, and then back on dialysis.
Jeez, man. And still here you are, you still show up, you still do the work that you do, the business and so forth, and balancing, kind of the balancing act with family and business and all that kind of stuff you do also. And the driving force around it, obviously you said just do it, just do the work. And so I'm assuming, because you got two kids, you said you got two kids, your son and your daughter, obviously your lovely wife. Legacy also. I always love to ask the guest in terms of legacy. What is it that fits the legacy? What do you want to leave behind in terms of, and it could be anything that you kind of envision, but what do you want Fitz to be renowned for or remembered for when your time is through?
I just want my kids to know that I did my best as a father. My legacy has to stay within my family. You know, like, the community is the community. Whatever the community gets left with is what gets left with. But I just hope that when my time is up, my kids can look back and say, oh, my dad was a cool dad. You know, he did what he could with what he had, or, you know, he was a good father, he was a good husband, and just leaving traits of me within my kids so that they can pass it on to their kids. That's probably where the legacy really has to come in.
Yeah, the family, your family. And so anything, Fitz, because obviously you and I are sharing, just talking, is there something, that if you had the opportunity and people were to say to you, oh, who is Fitz, who was Savili? And so is there something that you would like to add or share? This is who I am as a person, as a man.
I would just say that I'm a man that's here living and learning life. I don't have all the answers. I'm just living and learning. I just want to share what I learn and come into this place of earth and move on. We're only here for a very short time,
Man, also. And it seems like you said, if it was all gone, if it was all stripped away, then, hey, you'll still be here, still be like, okay, content and happy. Because often people think you go into business, the money, and people look, he must be rich. And so when people are seeing 275 and people thinking finances, money, and that's far from your mind, Fitz. It's not even about money. Obviously, money is a useful tool. But money's not like the be all and end all of why you start the business.
Yeah, well, have you seen that thing that say money is currency, and the reason why it's currency is because you have to treat it like a current. It comes in and comes out. So when you hold money at a high value, like it's the doom and gloom of everything, you actually ain't gonna have it. But if you just use it to just do what you got to do and let it go, you'll notice that you'll be a lot more rich. And not rich in financials, but you'll be rich in the things that you do. Making money is a byproduct, So I always put the work first that we do in our community, and then money will come when money comes.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Though, in terms of a current, money comes and goes. And so, with 275 in the climate, or the financial climate in this day and age, also. Where do you see it? Where do you see 275 in terms of, are you thinking of just the Barber right here in Mangere or Mangare, or do you see it expanding?
I definitely see it expanding. Definitely see 275 expanding. So we walk towards our vision, and then whatever happens within that time is what happens, But it's not gonna happen if you're not walking towards it, if that makes sense. So I do want it to be a more, the essence of 275 about community. Like that's what needs to be shared out there. That's the brand of it, of community, and also giving something for our community to be proud of,
And I remember seeing when I first caught up with you, Fitz, at Brown Pride with Johnny Timu, and your daughter had kokolesa. And so already it's been passed down to your kids in terms of entrepreneurship, kokolesa. And so you're saying, I don't know, is she still running the business, or are you taking over the business right now?
None of all's kokolesa. So I've taken over it, and we're rebranding at the moment. So we were supposed to drop it this week for Samoan Language Week, but it is what it is. It's just the timing of things. So it'll drop when it drops, but as long as we're working towards getting it out, it'll come out. It's just all in the timing of how things work. Because she's currently doing 275 printing at the moment, so she's figuring out life as well. Like that's what we got to understand as parents. Like we put so much pressure on our kids when if we're adults trying to figure out life, how do you think our kids are? So we just gotta let them figure it out. Just gotta guide them and.
Yeah, that's good words. Good advice as well. Also, and how's your family? Obviously, your sisters, your mom. In terms of how do they view you now? Also, in terms of the work that you're doing and the work that you've been doing thus far.
My mum passed away. My mum's passed away in 2015, I think 2017, which is all good. But my sisters are my sisters. They view me as their little brother still. But they know my heart, and they know my heart's always been here. It's just that now the community gets to see it, you know. So, yeah, my sisters don't treat me any different. If anything, my sisters and my family is what keeps me grounded, you know. Because at the end of the day, we're just people, right? You know, and there's just more cameras on you than most. But, you know, any famous person, I'm not saying I'm famous, but anyone at any level is grounded by their family, you know, and they're just ordinary. We're all just ordinary people. We're all just people just figuring out life, you know.
Yeah, man. Also, and I think it's the cool thing about it, Fitz, that you said that we're just ordinary people. But I often think, in your case also, you're an ordinary man who's doing extraordinary stuff. It really is. The things that you've done and the work speaks for itself. And like what you said, it's you just do the work. And like what you said, it's the timing. And I've been wanting for you to come on the podcast for ages. And you said it's the timing, and you wanted to do something in terms of make sure that I can add value to the listeners or to the viewers. And it is also. For me, I feel like you add value in terms of, I didn't know any of that stuff on Fitz. I didn't know all the other stuff, extra stuff. I didn't even know you were into the rabbit hole, so to speak, because I love that kind of stuff, man. It's like, so maybe we can talk more of that after camera, when the camera's but I enjoy that stuff also. So just before we conclude also, because going back to the rabbit hole also, because I'm assuming you watch some other people, you listen to other people who kind of have those conversations or those subjects or particular subjects.
Yeah. I do, but it's the people that I do watch and follow are actually showing the facts, you know. But then it's up to us to go and look into it ourselves, you know. But yeah, I follow some people.
Who's that?
So one guy is a good friend of mine now, is Wade's World. So at the moment he's just uncovering some of the stuff within New Zealand that's been hidden by our government.
Oh, shit.
So there's I forgot what the place was called, Waio or something. It's got temples in it. It's in New Zealand, but they've put a 75-year ban from anyone going to see what's there. This is New Zealand. So
New Zealand? What do you mean, like temples, like actual temples? Or what?
Yeah, like there's structures there that was before Māori. Yeah,
Jeez.
And in this place they've found bones that have like the femur bone or the femur bone.
Yeah.
They made it out to be a 8-foot person that had orange hair. Yeah.
Jeez.
But yeah, I like to listen to these kinds of people because this is the stuff that doesn't get shared on mainstream. But he went down, so he did a road trip and he went down and he found it himself, like he looked into it himself. You know, he went there and then got chased off, you know. So
jeez.
If you're in a rabbit hole, like it all depends on the rabbit hole you're in. Like, you know, a lot of the rabbit holes have truth and a lot of the rabbit holes have, you know, false narratives.
Wow. So are you saying this is a New Zealand guy?
Wade, he's from here. Yeah, Wade's World.
So Wade's World.
Wadeos.
Who are the other ones you kind of gauge or you watch?
I don't even know. They're all Instagram pages, and I don't even know what their real names are.
Bro, I don't know.
Because if you let yourself be known, then you know.
Oh yeah. Then
you get shut down.
Yeah. There's another.
That's another rabbit hole.
It's another conspiracy theory. But yeah. No, it's interesting you say that because did you say that guy had 8 feet tall and had ginger hair, red hair?
Yeah.
It's just some of the.
So that's other rabbit holes, you know, about having giants before us, and then the Avatar movie is based on something true. Like there's so many rabbit holes.
Bro, we can entertain
and it's all linked. Like from what I've noticed, everything that I've looked into, it's all linked, but it all comes down to us. The whole point of it is for us to forget who we are, and forget the true power that we have within. You know, after looking down these rabbit holes.
Jeez, man. But I know what you're talking about. I like that kind of conversation. Maybe we can have another mandate conspiracy podcast. But I like it, and I get what you're saying, and that's quite interesting, especially when you talk about the red hair. Obviously, Nephilims, the giants, all that kind of stuff, and then you got the Moriori, and then they'll say that the fair white skin and the red hair, all that kind of stuff. But that's
So yeah, it's all up for conversation, you know.
Yeah, I
And
like
just,
that. I like that.
and just sharing what we all have and bringing it to the table.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I like that also. Maybe but I appreciate it, man. Otherwise, Fitz, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on tonight, and kind of getting to know you a little bit more. I didn't obviously, like I said, I didn't realize that there's other facts about who you are as a man and as a person, and I do also, it's I appreciate your heart, because all these things are not possible if you don't, the heart behind it and the engine. Obviously, your lovely wife and your kids are a massive part of who you are, but for you to step out in faith, like you said, and to run a business, entrepreneurship, all these things, 275 day, also all the best, with your endeavors. Thank you for connecting me with these other amazing men that you rub shoulders with. I appreciate it also, and nothing but the best. I wish you nothing but the best also, and every guest that comes on also, you know how it is. We always give them a caricature of how we envision them to be, or a cartoon of who we envision them to be. And also, this is for you. I did a sketch this afternoon. And so, on behalf of the Mandate team, also this is for you. And so, Fitz, it is absolute pleasure. Thank you once again. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your heart. And it is. I said it to my wife before. You're to me. You're the mayor of Mangere, Mangere. And so, also, is there any last words of encouragement you want to share with our listeners or viewers tonight?
I would say to fill your cup and pour from the overflow. That's what I always say. You know, we got to do the work on ourselves so that everything that we do after that gets 100%. But can go out there and connect in the community, connect with each other, because that's where we're going to find our purpose, you know, through connection. Or connect.
I love also. Fitz, is anyone, because I haven't asked this question to the other guests, but I thought I'd just ask you, is there anyone else you think that we should get on the podcast? You think, you need to get this brother or sister?
I think it's only right with Samoan Language Week. I say Savati Boys.
Yeah, the Savati Boys.
Tony Laulu, the work that he's been doing on uncovering things back home in Savati, you know, and they're like, it's amazing. I think it'd be good to get him on and talk to him about what he's doing.
Oh, awesome!
You know?
I think we've had Tony on.
Have you?
Oh, Tony's awesome, man.
Oh, well, get him on again.
Yeah, get him on for part two. Yeah. Nah, but otherwise, also, man, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, also, all the best with 275 and the work that you do, also. And so, once again, the lovely pleasure of having the man himself, Fitz 275.